So one of the keys is making sure that we restore proper function. And not only that one joint, but the joints above and below that all affect this sort of stuff.
How do you do that?
Well, I'll tell you, like even what I do with my hand. What I've noticed, I am, you talked about the handedness issue. I am definitely stronger and much more dominant on my right hand. And I didn't realize this until I started playing the guitar. Okay?
Oh.
Then I'm having to make chords with my left hand, and I realized, wait a minute, that finger, this one moves real fast, this one doesn't. Now, I never noticed it, right? Because we get used to our body the way it is, don't we?
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm realizing, hey, wait a minute here. So, like, I'll be laying awake at night. My wife, she thinks I'm crazy because what I'm trying to do is develop dexterity. So I'm doing things like I'm tapping my fingers on my steering wheel when I'm driving because I want to get this finger to move. So I'm doing things to move it. And I'm saying, well, and what I've noticed is the finger that's sore really doesn't quite have the same, when I do this, a joint that's normal has a spring to it, right? Mm-hmm. So you can kind of feel these joints and go, okay, that's good. When I get to this joint here, the one that's sore, I go, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to think about it holistically, right? And we'll talk about the things. I'm doing my fish oils and I'm doing some things like this nutritionally, getting adjusted and doing some things with my neck, but I'm also taking this joint itself and I'm trying to open it up and get it moved because I know, hey, if the capsular has become adhesed and all this stuff is starting to happen, then as if I can start opening this up, it will function better because it's kind of about restoring function and bringing it back. And,
so just actually using it, even if it hurts.
Yeah, although I'm trying to think about this, right? Because it's not using it and checking my brain out. I'm just trying to say, well, if I could get it to work better, it would bend easier and quicker. And I'm finding as I put an applied focus on that, which is like your finger, right? If we work on this stuff and say, well, let's try to make it work better, then sometimes it actually starts to work better. And a lot of these things, they melt away because they're working, like my hand now, my timing is better. It's really working. It's working a whole lot better now. This finger rarely is, so it's now, I can bend it, I'm going, hey, cool. It doesn't, when I feel it here, it doesn't have that same, like it's stuck. It's not quite the same as this one. Okay, but you know what? We're coming right along. So I'm really pleased. It's something I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah, have you ever heard of the guys like you that play the guitar?
Yes.
Have them carpal tunnel.
Yes.
Really?
And it's an issue. Now, so anytime you do an activity where there's repetitive use of the hands, and this is, being a chiropractor, one of probably my biggest worries, I've been doing this now over 25 years, right?
Wow.
Is that if because I'm always using my hands, right? One of the reasons I only work 3 days a week now is to give my body time to heal, right? Because I have to be careful. Because when you see a lot of, the more you're around, you'll see that I adjust some pretty big boys and girls. And I use pretty intense forces at times. But I do have to be careful. Because now, 20 years ago, I didn't have to be as careful. But now I'm realizing, you know what, I need to be careful about this. And I'm working out diligently. I'm trying to keep my body in as good of health as possible to have as long of a career as possible doing this, even though it's, and you also, one of the reasons I switched to this way of adjusting, and you'll notice I do mostly drop table now, it is less intense for me because there is a consequence for every decision we make. So whatever our job is, if we do a repetitive task over and over and we're not doing anything in our off time to undo that, right? If you're sitting at a computer and typing like this, and you do that 8 hours a day, and then you go home and you start doing word puzzles and things on your computer, and you're sitting at the computer doing the same thing, and then you go to bed, you prop your neck up and you sleep like this, you're going to create a real problem for yourself, right? So that's, I would say chiropractic is about looking at your life and taking a real good look at it and say, what are the things that need to transform and change? If I don't do that, this is going to be a consequence in my body. So anyhow, so this cycle of degeneration is really a problem. So inflammation, pain, deformity of the joints, uneven joint surfaces, decreased ranges of motion, all these things are the consequence of degeneration. Now, one of my pet peeves is that the assumption is that, oh, you're getting older, so you're getting arthritis. And it's like almost every patient who's ever had this conversation with their medical doctor, they are usually in their 40s or 50s, And almost everybody is told, well, this kind of happens as you get older. It's as if it's an inevitable process of aging. And I want to say, no, I don't buy that. A properly maintained joint should not show signs of degeneration until 125 years of use. And when we look at, I've got an example here about a lady's neck, and you're going to watch it from her 30s to about a process of about 20 years of what happens to her neck. And so we'll go here. So treatment goals, I want you to stop the progression. So once we identify an area where you've got some degeneration, I would love to turn the clock back and undo it, but a lot of times that's not possible. There, on occasion, we can do it, but I don't want to set that up as the expectation. We set that as a hope. Right? We see what your body is able to do. I'm not going to take hope away from you. If you're committed to doing it and really working hard at it, amazing things can happen. But I want to, let's stop the progression. That's really, and enhance the repair process. So that is, if your body wants to heal it, let's make sure we're giving it all the building blocks that it needs to heal. All right? Does that seem, at least that seems reasonable to me. And then ultimately reverse the process. So if we can identify why it formed in the first place, you know, like you were talking about the knee, that case that I was telling you about, the one knee that was more sore than the other. Well, you start thinking about leg length inequalities, how she's standing, even is she right or left-handed, those types of things, because those then influence how you walk, how you stand. There's lots of things, and so I like you're thinking like a chiropractor. You're
Well,
saying,
I'm also thinking that, you know, maybe before she knew it, her left leg started hurting, so then she started favoring her
transferred
right
to the other. Yeah, although the thing about that is, if that were true, then, but why, it still doesn't answer why the one that is the most deteriorated isn't causing the problem. Why is that one not painful? And I will say, I don't think degeneration by itself is not the answer for pain, right? So, because people have gotten into the habit of thinking, oh, the one that's it's bone on bone, so that's the answer. I just have to, I just have to go and have that fuse, there's no other hope. But I'm saying, I don't buy that anymore. I mean, I understand that the bone is on the bone, right? That is a real problem. And it may very well need a surgical solution later. But is it possible that you could get function back in that joint and open that up and have your own body squirt in its own synovial fluid? Now, if the bone did get to the point where it was collapsing and touching the two surfaces instead of having this nice space filled in with this beautiful lubricating fluid, that fluid gradually over time leaked out. Your body has to realize it needs to create new synovial fluid. The only way it's going to know to make more is to move the joint. But that's going to be like taking a door that has whose hinges have kind of rusted shut. You can't squirt the hinges in your body first. You have to move the door first. Now, there's going to be a lot of discomfort and pain getting the body to start moving where it wasn't. But that's the only way we know to trigger the instincts in your body to then create more of the lubricating fluid. So we basically have to take something that's sore and get it moving and watch and see what happens. And it's not a pathway typically that's a lot of fun. And so I will say that you really do have to be committed to this. And it usually goes with a fair amount of dialogue on an ongoing basis as we get through this. Yes. You may be doing more of the talking to me, and you're going to feel like I'm kind of ignoring you. And understand I kind of am. I can't. I mean, it drives me nuts. I wish I could wave a magic wand and take away your pain. I would love to do that for you, but I can't. And if I just focus on where you're hurting, I will probably miss where I need to go. So in some ways, I sometimes put fingers in my ears and pretend you're not saying anything to me. But don't misunderstand that. I don't think that I don't care, because I do care, but I care so much that I can't get distracted by where the hurt is. I have to still stay focused on what needs to get corrected. And although if you do feel like I'm not hearing you, or that something has to be told to me, you can always make a special time and have a consultation with me. Okay, because often when I have people lined up and we're in adjusting mode, my thinking is in a different place than it is when I need to kind of figure stuff out. I'm kind of in a flow, and you want to be adjusted when I'm in a flow. There's power in that.
That's right.
And there's power for you as other patients, and you see, oh, it's kind of like you go to a restaurant when there's a lot of people sitting there. Yeah, you might have to wait a bit, but you know this is a good restaurant, right? That sort of a thing, so there's comfort in that. So you kind of want other people to be here too when you're getting adjusted, and it's good all around. But sometimes we do need to take a minute and just breathe and sit down and look at it together, or like look at those x-rays, that sort of stuff. I like to make time for you and never feel like I don't have time for you. We always do. We might have to make the time though.